Hey guys, Don Durrett, Gold Stock Data. Last week I did a video of developers and I think you guys liked it. There was 7,000 views in a week. So this week I'm going to give you producers. These are all producers that I own. There's 73 of them. So last week we had 82 developers, so 73. We should be able to get through that in an hour. Um, Before I do my list, I do a search. Yeah, I can do that. Because the first stock on my list is Agnico Eagle. I put it on there just because I do own it. It's not a stock that I bought. It's just a stock that uh, they acquired a stock that I owned and I never sold it. And so I want to show you, I created a stock called the Elite Eight. So I kind of want to start, I wanted to begin with the Elite Eight. So the Elite Eight are the top majors. So we have Agnico Eagle, Alamos, which is the smallest at 11 billion, AngloGold Ashanti, Barrick, Goldfields, Kinross, Newmont, and Northern Star. So Northern Star, I have in my top 25. It's extremely cheap, which is kind of amazing. It dropped 30%. I think it's just, it won't be, I don't think it'll be cheap for that long. You can see the quality ratings. I have them all at A or A minus, but most of these traders are three baggers. Some of them are five baggers. So the stocks that aren't on here, I would put Lundin Gold. Lundin probably deserves to be on the Elite Eight. It's not here because it's somewhat pricey and it's also in Ecuador, and Ecuador's been adding some I forget what they call the tax, administrative tax or some type. They're actually charging per hectare. Doesn't hurt Lundin, but it kind of keeps investors away. So I don't know if Lundin's going to get a big multiple, but they do pay a good dividend. They just need to diversify out of Ecuador. Um, who else isn't on here? There's a couple other names, big market caps. I can't, Eldorado's a little bit below this. Um, there's one other that I can't think of, but I call these stocks the Elite Eight. These are if you're wealthy, if you're very wealthy, you should own like 100 grand of each one of these and just collect the dividends. And then if they double in size, your dividend doubles. They triple, your dividend triples. So you can end up getting really good dividends on these stocks over time. So these are kind of like the elite. And there's a few majors in the gold. These are all gold, but you could Pan American would kind of fit in this. Can't think of Pan Americans. We'll get to it. Their market cap, if it's up to 11 billion now. I think it is. Um, there would be the only silver player. Core's starting to get up there, but it's not there yet. There's a few other names. There's a few other big names. So there's the kind of the elite, the majors. Because I don't have that on this list. The only one I have Kinross, and I have Northern Star on my list, and then I have Agnico. So I do own those three. Um, so let's bring my list up. Okay, so I don't need to talk about Agnico. I don't think I need to. Kind of the elite of the elite, right? About $1,400 margins. Um, they're starting to clean up their balance sheet. They paid down some debt last quarter. So Alkane. So Alkane, they mine in Australia, and they recently acquired a company. I want to say Magellan, but that's not right. It was a mid-tier producer, so they're going to add like 70,000 ounce production. It basically improved Alkane. So I liked Alkane before that acquisition, and now um, if I put MA, I'm going to find it here. Mandalay Resources is the name of the company. So I've always liked Mandalay, but I've never owned it. So it's nice for Alkane to acquire them. I think it improved them. So I don't have them as a top 25, but I have a top pick. I think it's a pretty strong company now when they're combined. Allied Gold, they're a miner in Africa, but a quality management team, kind of in the they're like right behind Perseus and West African. But I would put them. So we got Endeavor Mining, Perseus, and I put Allied like third as far as quality miners in Africa. They have a nice growth story. You might avoid it because it's in Africa, but I have them as a top 25 10 bagger. So as long as they don't run into trouble, it's got a lot of upside. They're growing production. I call them like a buy and build company. They basically buy a company and build a mine. They're high quality builders, if you will, executors, operators. America's Gold and Silver, Paul Hewitt's the new CEO. I have it as a top 25, so I'm very excited. I think Hewitt's going to turn it around. Right now, they have a high ASIC, but the capex is really starting to rip. It's up to 750 million. People are really starting to notice it. Um, I think Hewitt is a big reason. It's kind of doubled in value. I still think it has a lot of upside. I have it as a four. I have it as I still have it as a 10 bagger. Um, I think they're going to get to 5 million ounces of production. Might do better than that. Probably will do better than that, but I think they'll get to at least five. Every million ounces of silver production is worth about $500 million. So five times five. The reason why it's worth 500 million is because if you take a million ounces, if you have $50 break even, that's $50 in free cash flow per million. So 50 million in free cash flow per million times 10 gives you 500 million. So if you multiply to get that to be a 10 bagger, we're going to need a little bit more than that. We're going to need about 8 million ounces of production. But that's at $50 break even. If they have $40 break even, you get 600. So seven times six. I don't know if the math works there. It looks like it's not a 10 bagger anymore. Let's go take a look at it. But I have the free cash flow at 500 million. So that's about, they have some gold production. That's the reason. I have them at 6 million ounces plus 50,000 ounces of gold. If they restart their gold mine, I have them as a 10 bagger. So it actually does that. So a lot of upside. Andean Precious Metals, they actually had a really good quarter. Um, they came out today. I thought they had a good quarter. Look at my weekly notes. So we have Andean, they 24,000 ounces of gold equivalent, $1,700 ASIC, 24 million in net profit. So they're basically 100 million annual, 87 million in cash and no debt. So they have a strong balance sheet and they're adding cash and their costs are under control. So I think Andean, and they're not getting a very high valuation. If we look at their valuation, so Andean they're producing gold and silver both. So they're producing 45,000 ounces of gold, $1,000 margins, and then silver, 4 million ounces. Um, they used to have a resource problem, but they bumped it up. They just did a deal. They have 50 million ounces now, so I don't think they have a problem there. But they're valued at a five multiple. They were a lot lower. They were at a three, so they've come up a little bit, but they're still printing as a nine bagger. So they're still cheap. Um, Eris, they're up to 1.5 billion, but I have them as a 10 bagger. Um, they've expanded production at Segovia by um, by 50%. Right now they're ramping up, and then they got Marmato next year. So they're at 1.5, but their production is increasing fairly rapidly. They're 250,000 ounces. but it goes up next year to like 400, and then they get to, I think they're going to get to 550 because they have two additional mines they can build. If they build them both, they're going to be above that. They might run into permit issues on one of them. So Soto Norte could run into permit issues, but Peru, at these gold prices, I think they're going to probably build that. Um, so they're currently five multiple. These companies are starting to come up a little bit. They were down to about a three, and now they're up to five. Free cash flow is pretty solid though, almost 300 million a year. Printing is a 10 bagger if they grow production. So next year they're going to be about 400,000 after they expand production at Segovia and Marmato. Um, so I think Eris they were mispriced significantly, about $1 billion, and now they've come up about not quite 50%, but now they're at 1.5. So they're starting to get more valued correctly, but they still have a lot of upside. Artemis Gold, the Blackwater project in Canada, they're ramping it up, doing a really good job. I mean, the market cap 4.7 billion. This thing's been a really strong performer. I don't have this one as a 3.5 because it's up to 4.7, but it's going to be interesting. This thing has like a 1 year, 2 year payback. They're generating a lot of free cash. It's like, what are they going to do next? I like the management team. I think they're going to buy another company. Um, so I want to own as many mid-tiers as I can. These guys are actually a major, but they're kind of a small major, up and comer, and they have the long life Blackwater. So I think they're going to acquire somebody fairly quickly. Hopefully, they'll do kind of a merger of equals. So they don't hurt their shareholders. More of an accretive deal. I like to see them do a merger of equals with Skeena, which would be fantastic because they're both in the same area. Aura Minerals, they're in South America, Central America, kind of a Latin flavor, Latin management team. A lot of people ignore them, but I like the valuation. I don't have them as on the top 25, um, but they're borderline top 25. I have a B plus mid-tier producer, almost $2 billion. I don't think they have a balance sheet problem. So here we have the 458 debt, 271 cash. So they don't have a balance sheet problem. They don't have a cost problem. $1,900 ASIC. So they're not low cost. That's probably why I don't have them on the top 25. So it looks like the cost issue is the reason why they're not there. Avino, um, still a 10 bagger. I think it prints as like a 14 bagger still. It's up to 600 million, 390 US the current share price. This thing was down to 40 cents. This thing's been flying, but it's still cheap. How can a stock go from 40 cents to $4, which is a nine bagger, and still be cheap? I called it a 50 bagger at 40 cents. I don't know if it'll get there, but um, if it's a 10 bagger, it will. And I have this as currently, so it's still cheap. I still think they're going to get taken out. Silver gets at $40. I think they'll be acquired even at this valuation, because they have a lot of growth still going. Aya, this is more of a development play because the Boumadine mine is bigger than Zagounder, and Zagounder is what they're currently producing. So Zagounder, finally, they expanded Zagounder. I think it's up to, what's it up to? 4 million ounces a year, 5 million. And now they're going to start focusing on Boumadine, which is huge. Like I said, it's bigger than Zagounder. And so it's more of I is kind of a long-term, like with 3 year, it's a 3 year play for Boumadine. But I'm a big fan. I have it as top 25 10 bagger. I like the location, I like the management. I'd like to see them do an acquisition because they're just sticking right now in Morocco. I'd like to see them do an acquisition. B2 Gold, Um, B2, very cheap, a major. I think looks like about an eight bagger. It has some issues in Mali, but I think they're kind of resolved. I'm okay with Mali with as long as a junta leader. So the key is get along with the junta leader, right? I think they're getting along, and so as long as you pay them, but they could increase their taxes, they could increase their royalties. That's their largest mine, the Fekola mine. But on the whole, their Goose project's going to go into production here. It's actually done first pour, so it's ramping up right now. And then they're going to go build a second one. And then another mine after that, Gramulti. B2, they're kind of like IM Gold, SSR Mining. They're always growing, they basically after a year or two, they're on and off to the next project. They don't seem they're these companies, some of these companies are very aggressive. G Mining, Allied Gold, they don't sit still, and B2 Gold's not going to sit still. Bellevue, um, I I like Bellevue a lot. They ran into some trouble. They had some head grade problems, but I think it's been resolved. They had the grade down to 3.5. Now it's up to back to 5. I think they're okay. The share price hasn't really bumped. Back to still 800 million at one time. It was 1.1. It was at 1.1 the last time I now did it in November. It was at 1.1, so it hasn't bounced back. But the one thing I like about Bellevue, I think of all of the Aussie eights. I mean, we're going to cover. I own all the Aussie eights, so we're going to see. We hit an Aussie eight, I'll tell you. So all the Aussie eights, I think they have the best exploration potential. I mean, they got drill targets all over the place. And all the Aussie eights own a lot of land. There's none of these that have like 1,000 acres. They're all hectares. They're all like 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 hectares. They're all lots of drill targets. But I think Bellevue might have the best. I think they're going to be acquired. They had to sell off. They're very cheap. But I like it. I like all the Aussie eights. Bright Star. They're in Western Australia. This is a new one. This one has a little bit more risk on it. I do have it as a top pick though, but I don't have it as a B plus. This is kind of a new up and comer mid tier. It's only 100 million currently, but blink and it'll be 3, 4, 500. But they're new. They're growing production. So that one has a little bit more risk. Bunker Hill. This is really not as it currently is a lead mine, but I don't see it that way. I think they have a lot of silver. And remember, every million ounces of silver is worth $500 million. The reason why is if you take 1 million, you have all-in cost of $50. That means you have $50 of free cash flow times 10 is 500 million. So you get 500 million, and if your all-in cost is $40, then you have 60 million free cash flow, 600 million. So, and then if you could get more, you could get 15 instead of 10. So then you're looking at 750 million per ounce. And so I think Bunker Hill could easily find 2 million ounces a year. That's $1 billion, and they're currently at 160. So I think, I definitely think it has five bagger potential if they can get silver production to 2 million. They're starting off as mainly lead, zinc. Um, but I think that they'll rotate into silver. I think they're going to find a bunch of silver. So it's kind of a spec bet that they're going to find silver. Capricorn, it's an Aussie 8. It's kind of a preeminent elite Aussie 8. They generate a lot of cash. They have really solid ASIC, and they're growing. They just got another project that they're building. Real solid Aussie 8. One of the premiers. Catalyst. This one is close to being Aussie 8. It's $1 billion. This probably is going to be the next one in. And the Aussie 8, when another one gets taken out, I think they're definitely in the running to fill that next gap. They're a top pick, but they're not on the top 25. I think that's because their costs are a little high. Uh, Balance sheet is fine. They don't have 63 million. But I think their cost a little high. $2,000 ASIC for Catalyst. That's the reason why they're they're not in the top 25 or they don't have a B plus, so they have a little high ASIC. but pretty solid company, billion-dollar company in Western Australia. Centerra, big fan of Centerra. Nice balance sheet, 500 million in cash, no debt, cheap. Prince is a 10 bagger, 1.5 billion in market cap, generates a lot of cash. Um, they're focused in both Canada and in Turkey. And so some people give them a little risk for their turkey production, but I think they're kind of well diversified. Some people say that they have a short mine life in Turkey, and that could be a problem. But this is another strong management team, buy and build. They'll have no problem doing acquisitions and growing through that way. So I'm not really worried about mine life in Turkey. This is a company that's going to grow, in my opinion. So I'm a fan of Centerra, Serato. Serato, they've been doing well. I mean, they were really, really cheap. They're still cheap. I don't have them as a top pick. Waiting for them. They need to expand their resources down in Argentina. So right now we have a short mine life down there, but they made that acquisition of Ascendant, so they're building another mine in Portugal. On the whole, I like the insiders at 40%. I think they're gonna not they won't sell the company, they're gonna build it. I think on the whole, I think Serato looks pretty strong here. Not great. I don't consider them an elite management team. Um, they're decent. They're pretty good, but they're not elite. They're not a buy and build type of company. They're not like a Centerra or up. They're not in that league. I mean, they're only 100 million dollar market cap. Um, but I do think they're going to do fine. They just need to expand the resources down there in Argentina. If they can get a 10-year mine life, I think they're less than five. They can expand that out. I think they could do well. And then they got to be successful on this mine they're building in Portugal, which supposedly has a lot of exploration potential. So it's kind of a spec bet. Core, I don't need to say much about Core. It's my number one rated. So they have a 7 billion, so they're not ready to be in the elite. They need to double in size. They double in size and they can get in that $14 billion range, double digits. But I have Core ranked number one. It's a cheap stock. I think it's an eight bagger, maybe 10. D Denarius, this one it's very similar to Core. It's kind of a spec bet. I think it's the Zancudo mine down in Colombia. They need to, um, they think that it's going to get bigger. It's a $100 million market cap. So they have Zancudo. They think Zancudo is going to get a lot bigger. They've only drilled, it's an underground mine. They're only in about 300 meters. They think it's going to be a much bigger mine, much longer life mine. Plus, they have a mine in Spain that they're working on expanding there. It's like Serato, it's basically a spec bet. I like the management team. The CEO is the same guy that started Golden. Um, I want to say Golden, but that's not the one. The company Grand Columbia, the one that was before Eris, he started Grand Columbia. He's a good CEO. So he wants to build this into a big company. So they're currently there. So I think I like Serato and Daenerys, but they're both, a bit of spec bets, if you will. Discovery, the Cordero project. Oh, by the way, Discovery just came out with their first quarter. It was pretty solid. The ASIC was a little high, about 2,000, but they're generating free cash flow. That's all we want them to do. They're also talking to Barrick, trying to buy Barrick's last gold mine in Canada. That would be fantastic if they can pull that off. Um, and then the Cordero project, they're just waiting for the permit so it's ready it'll be construction ready once they get the permit. They're just waiting on the permit. It's been submitted a while ago. So once they get that, the Cordero project is just massive. We're talking 32 million ounces silver equivalent annual production. So I think they will get the permit. I like Discovery a lot. It's been ripping. It's been doing well this year. Dundee's acquisition of Adriatic I'm just crossing my fingers that happens. Um, that it's very rare for a company to do an acquisition and their valuation actually increases. Is be that accretive. I mean, that's how accretive that Adriatic deal is. Their share price will go up if that deal closes. Fingers crossed. I mean, it just gives them a ton of free cash flow because that the Adriatic project is really strong. Adriatic is ramping up right now as we speak. They haven't even reached full production. They're very close though. I think they'll reach it in Q4. But Dundee looks fantastic if that closes. Dundee's okay if it doesn't close, but they're just a lot better if it does close. I think it will too. El Dorado, strong player. There's a little bit of risk in Greece. I think they're also in Turkey, but they've been performing well. A lot of free cash flow. Um, they're another shark. They like to do acquisitions. They don't like to stand around. So well, I like that. I want to own as many sharks as I can get. Endeavor Mining, definitely a shark. They do lots of acquisitions and they won't stop. Endeavor, $8 billion and growing. It's West Africa though, so you got to be comfortable with West Africa to own them. But they generate a lot of cash. They have real strong free cash flow, nice ASIC. Endeavor Silver, their Terronera is coming online right now. It's going to reduce their costs. They're going to start doing some really good quarterly financials once Terronera gets ramped up. They've said that Terronera is coming along really good. The tons per day is pretty much there. Q4 they're going to be fully ramped up, and then they're going to start working on Pitarrilla for their next mine. So I'm excited about Endeavor. Endeavor, they're trying. Management. And it's kind of still a small company, 1.6 billion. Management really disappointed me. They paid 130 million ounces or 130 million, 120 million for 30 million ounces of silver down in Peru. I thought it was stupid. I really didn't like the deal at all. They just overpaid. I didn't see the exploration upside. They should have bought Silver X, who has 100 million ounces. They could have got Silver X for 120 million, paid 200%, but I didn't like the deal. I think they did a dilution as well, and I didn't like the dilution, but on the whole, I like Endeavor. I think I like the properties, I like the projects, not super excited about the management team. Hopefully, they can build it. I'd like to see them get acquired myself. Uh, Maybe Hecla or Coeur take them out. Maybe First Majestic take them out. We'll see what happens. Equinox. I'm a big fan of Equinox. I think Equinox is, I have it here as a 10 bagger. I mean, when do you find a major that was a $5.7 billion market cap that prints as a 10 bagger? You're probably saying, Don, there's no way that thing's a 10 bagger. Well, let's go check. Let's go look. Let's go see what the data says. Okay, so I have them currently as an 850,000 ounce producer. I have them growing to 1.2, and they print well, they're down to a 866. So they're not quite a 10 bagger because they've jumped in value. They're up to almost a 7 multiple, generating 840 million, and they have high cost. So just think what's going to happen when their costs come down, and I think their cost will come down. Their free cash flow, I have their free cash flow jumping to $3 billion at $5,000 gold. So it's a growth story. Maybe they don't get the 10 bagger, but I have them here almost 9. And I really like this deal that they did with Caliber. Caliber has a good management team. So we have right now, they have $1,000 margins. Their ASIC is about 1650. I think it might be a little higher than that. I have their margins at $1,000. I think their costs are going to drop. Um, I think that their caliber team is going to help them to improve, but I'm a big fan of Equinox. I think as far as majors go, they have a market cap of 5 billion. They are a major. I think Equinox is one of the better majors. I think this company could easily get to 50 billion and compete with Newmont and Barrick as the top dog. Evolution Mining. There's only two big miners in Australia, Evolution and Northern Star, and they're I have them as a top pick. Probably should have them on the top 25. They print right now as a six bagger, a little over a five bagger. They probably deserve to be on the top 25. Uh, they have a lot of, nah, not a lot of debt. Um, this looks like we're probably going to go over an hour. I'm talking a lot. I'm trying to see why I don't have them. Yeah, the reason why I don't have them top pick is they have a lot of debt, 1.1 billion, but they have cash 400 million, and they're generating nice margins, $1,800 margins. They have a low capex, $1,000 ASIC. They're generating a lot of cash, $1.3 billion, printed as a seven multiple. These guys were down to a six. No, Northern Star was down to a six, but seven multiple. They print as a five, so they're borderline five bagger. But I like it. I don't have these guys on the Aussie eight. I don't have Evolution and I don't have Northern Star on the Aussie eight, but they could be. I mean, they're five baggers and they're fairly cheap, but I'm a fan, absolutely. First Majestic, um, we need to get Jarrett Canyon restarted. They don't have any growth down in Mexico. They're just basically maintaining production. Their A6 about $20, 19, $20. So they're not a low cost mine. They are generating free cash flow. I have them, 3.5. I'm expecting a five bagger. So, they're kind of like nine times six. I'd like $50 target price. We need to get their balance sheet improved. I want to get them to, to get passed it up. So they have 265 million in debt. I'd like to get rid of that. I think that would really help their multiple. They have a 14 multiple, but I think we could get that up to 20 if they pay that debt off. Um, and Jarrett Canyon, we need to get Jarrett Canyon restarted. They're not talking about it now, and we're not getting any news releases on Jarrett Canyon, but hopefully that'll happen. Fortuna, if I like their management team, I like their properties. But they generate a lot of cash, but it's not an exciting company, and they're West African, finally mostly West African based now. They're kind of a new story. I'm hoping they acquire Abra. They're right next to Abra Silver. It's a perfect fit for them. It's either going to be them or Kenros is my guess. But I think Fortuna does like to grow. They probably will do some acquisitions, but I think it definitely this is stock I want to own. Fresnillo, uh, they're a Mormon, top 3.5. I'm expecting a five bagger. Very solid. I mean, this company's been doing well lately. They were really cheap. Now they're not as cheap as they were. They're really starting to rip $17 billion. So they're the major. We got Pan American and Fresnillo are your two big silver majors. G Mining. This is a really strong management team. They know how to build mines. They know how to, so they're a buy and build company, which I like. They're a shark. They're just going to keep doing acquisitions. I think they're going to probably take out Cabral because they're right next door to Cabral. They have a mill, and Cabral's drilling a 2+ million ounce deposit right next door. It's perfect for their mill. I don't know why they haven't acquired it yet. They need to make them an offer they can't refuse. Galliano, they're in Ghana. I'm more bullish Ghana than I was. I'm okay with Ghana now. I think Galliano's a strong play. Don't have it as a top pick because it's in Ghana, but it probably could be. It all depends on the political risk. But right now, I'm okay with Ghana. They have high insiders. They're generating a lot of cash. I think they're good. Genesis. This is an Aussie 8 company. Probably should be a top pick. I don't have it as a top pick. Um, I don't think they have a balance sheet problem. They don't. 176 cash. They must have. Let's go look at their cost. 1850, which isn't terrible. I like Genesis too. I mean, they have 18 million ounces of gold. I don't know why they're not a top pick. I'm gonna make a note here. I I'm gonna have to take a closer look at it. I think Genesis deserves to be a top pick. Like I said, I'm a fan. I mean, they have 18 million ounces of gold, 3 million market cap, strong management team. I like them. Go Gold, four, top 25, B plus, building, two mines. Los Ricos South comes first. Los Ricos North goes next. We're talking 15 million ounce producer, and they're currently at 620. So 15 times 50, 15 times 500 million is 7.5 billion dollar company is kind of what we're looking at here. So Gogo looks really strong. Um, Greatland, I put them on the top 25 today. I really like this company. I just like the Haveron project. It's very rare when you find 400,000 ounce production at $500 cash cost for 20 years. I mean, that is fantastic. This is a company, that's something you can build on. And then the Telfer mine, I think they're going to expand it. I think Telfer is going to be a lot longer life mine because of the high gold price. Plus, they're in a really strong district where Antipa is another a company right around them that owns a whole bunch of land. They can buy Antipa, consolidate the district. So, yeah, I really like Greatland. It's on the Aussie 8. Guanajuato, top 25. I don't have it as a B plus. 160. $500 million per million ounces. They have 5 million ounce production. So it's you know, that's real juicy. I mean, definitely a 10 bagger for Guanajuato. We need them to stop diluting. They've done three dilutions in a year. They just did another one at 14%. Serial diluters, the share price is at 21 cents US because of that serial dilution. I mean, it should be 50 cents. But they get healthy at $40. They get very healthy at $40 silver. Ton of leverage. I think this is one of those stocks you got to hold your nose and own it. Um, the balance sheet isn't too bad. Uh, Actually, it's good. Only I have zero debt here. So, yeah, Guanajuato, I think that's definitely a one you kind of, even though they're serial diluters, you kind of have to hold your nose and own them because they have so much leverage. Again, 500 million per 1 million ounces. It just has a ton. Hecla talking is another one you have to hold your nose and own. I mean, they have their balance sheet is weak. We got $500 million in debt. I'm showing 300. Yeah, they paid down some debt. They had five and they paid down two. So, which is good. And so I think Hecla, one more quarter and Hecla might be in good shape. They're up to, they were down to like 550 and now they're at 770. That's a big turnaround. And the reason why is the balance sheet. I think the stock's going to 20 bucks all day. And then I think it's a five bagger. So that's eight times six, $48. So I think it's going to 50 bucks. So Heck was a must own just because of the location of their mines. All their mines are in North America. I always say this, Wall Street's going to buy it like candy once silver goes up. Heliostar, this was my pick last year at Beaver Creek. This is a company that's growing production. They're going to get to 200,000 ounces a year. They're 290 million dollar market cap right now. So at 200,000, I think it's a 10 bagger. Um, and they could do better than 200,000. They could get to 300. It's a very young CEO. We'll see how he executes. Um, but they definitely have the goods to do well. It's it's definitely not an elite management team, so it's a bit of a spec bet. But I think on the whole, I think that they definitely have. It's going to take some time as well to build these mines. It's a 3 year play. It's not just a gold play. It's kind of a 3 year play. But I think it's a pretty good spec bet. I would say I think I like it better than like Serato or Denarius. It's one level above that. Hochschild, I like this one a lot. I like the management team. They're a shark. They like to grow. They've done a couple acquisitions down in Brazil. And they have a Vulcan project that's really juicy that they're not getting any value for. I think the Vulcan project is worth their current market cap. It's an 8 million ounce low grade project in Chile that, they've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the price of gold to get high enough to advance that. They used to never even talk about it. But Vulcan could easily be 300,000 ounces a year production. I mean, it's 8 million ounces. So, And when they decide to move on it, they're going to move on it. They know how to build mines and operate mines. I like their insiders at 50%. No one's going to steal this thing. Hochschild is, yeah, I mean, when you can buy a company of its quality as a 10 bagger, I mean, that's why it's on the Mormon list. Horizon Minerals, this one it's marginal. It's a bit of a spec. It's in Western Australia. Market cap's only 80 million. I'm hoping that they can grow this thing to 100,000 ounces a year and be a $1 billion company. That's why I have it as a four, but it's black. It's not a top pick, 2.5. This one's a bit of a spec bet. It's for, I just want to own as many mid tiers in Australia as I can get my hands on. And they're emerging mid tiers, so I think they'll get there. They have a twin company, by the way. I call it twin because they're basically similar. Horizon Gold, which is a development play. And I'm hoping to buy that one, and then they could turn into a mid tier as well. So in Aussies, I want to own all the mid tiers, and I want all the developers they're going to turn into mid tiers because you don't know who the winners are. So I just buy them all and just wait and see what happens. Um, I am Gold. I'm a fan of I am Gold. Big turnaround story. Very close to being a top 25. I have it as an A minus. So you can see I do like the company. I do like the management team. I think that's a growth story. I think they're a shark. I think they're going to do acquisitions. I think we look at their balance sheet, it's pretty, almost $1 billion in debt. They got into trouble, but now they're okay. They have 223 in cash and they're generating a lot of cash. We'll look at their cost. So we got $2,300 ASIC, which is ugly, but it's coming down. But on the whole, um, I'm a fan of I am Gold. I think I I think they're going to grow production. So if we look at they have 29 million ounces of gold, which is really good. I mean, that's a lot of gold. They're producing 750,000 ounces. I only have them growing to eight. They have $1,000 margins right now, which is, well, we saw a $2,000 margin, but I think those are coming down. Q3, Q4. That's the reason why I have it lower. But they're trading at a six multiple, which is kind of the norm now for companies, unless they're elite. But I have it prints as a six bagger, which is a pretty solid. I mean, you get a company of this quality for the six bagger. I think that's a win. Impact Silver. Um, Impact is one of those companies that you kind of don't want to ignore whenever there's a bull market in silver. So Impact, Hecla, Coeur, these are companies you want to own during bull markets. The reason why is because they just stick around. And so Impact's going to be there. They're currently mining about 1 million ounces. You get into a bull market, they'll double that to two. And then each million ounces is worth 500 million. So that's $1 billion. So so I don't know if they'll get to a billion, but they'll get to 500 million. I definitely have them as a four. I actually think they could get to a billion, but even if they don't, um, they will, I think because they're currently at 100 million. In other words, this is a 3 to 10 bagger, and it's not quality at all. But again, it's one of those companies that if you don't own it during a bull market, you'll probably wish you did. Their property is pretty solid. They have like 100 old workings that they can drill and restart, and they have a good management team. They know how to, they can start up a mine fairly quickly, um, and it doesn't take them long. And they'll start drilling, and once the price of silver goes up, they'll start drilling these deposits, and they have a bunch of drill targets. So you've been warned. If you ignore it, you'll go, look at that thing. Look at impact. It's ripping. Oh, Don said it was going to rip. Integra. Like this stock. I like what they did. They had their Delamar project in Idaho. It was going to take them a while to build it. So what did they do? They went and bought a producing mine in Nevada. And so that's generating cash, and that'll make it easier for them to develop Delamar in Idaho and finance it. When you're in production and you have a market cap of $300 million, you have no problem raising money. So it was a really smart move on their part. I like that. Jaguar, they just got the green light to restart their other mine they had a problem with the tailings. They had a tailing slippage, cost them about $50 million. but now they're back in business. And I like this stock a lot because they have two mills that are both running at half capacity. They're going to fill them both up. This is going to be a 150,000 ounce producer, and it's going to be, I have it as a 10 bagger. I think that's what's going to be the result. Yeah, I'm a fan of Jaguar. K92. Fan of K92. I don't have it as a top pick. Probably should. If it's printing as a five bagger, because they have a strong balance sheet. There's a growth story. Let's go take a look at it. It's like, Don, why don't you have this as a top pick? What's your excuse? I know they have a strong balance sheet. We'll go to the balance sheet first. Cash 182, 60 in debt. So yeah, strong balance sheet. Uh, they don't have strong insiders, so they are somewhat vulnerable. Very conservative management team. They have not tried to grow. They're basically a single mine property, single mine company. 175,000 currently with $1,500 margins, but that's growing because they're right now they're ramping up production. So next year they're going to be at 300,000 very soon. So by Q4, this is really going to ramp up. So Don, why aren't they a top pick? Let's go down here and look. So they're borderline five bagger. Um, Printing a 10 multiple, but that's they're going to go up. They're printing less than this because, like I said, they're ramping up right now as we speak. But I think K92 and Genesis both should be top picks. I'm gonna move them both to top picks. So I don't have a problem with the location. They have any problem in Indonesia? No, it's not Indonesia. Papua New Guinea, PNG. Kinross. So Kinross is Elite Eight, but I've held it for a while. I still they're close to being a five bagger. They might be a five bagger, but they've been ripping up to 23 billion. But I'm gonna hold that one. Some of these stocks, I mean, there might not be five baggers, but I'm gonna hold them. Lion One, I'm optimistic. Lion One's had a slow start. They've had a really slow start. They're only mining about, I don't know, 10,000 ounces this year, 15,000. We need to get them to 30,000 ounces so they can generate enough free cash flow to drill. But I like it. I have it as a top 25. I like the property. Not excited about the management team. They're trying to figure this thing out. But on the whole, the management team makes me a bit nervous, but I do like the property a lot. I think it's going to be a really big mine. I almost would like to see them getting taken out by a better management team that can go in with a new pair of eyes and drill this thing because I think it's a 10 million ounce deposit. I think this is, a 300,000 ounce a year deposit. I mean, they're sitting on 84 million market cap, but I think potentially this is a very, very big mine. Um, but they're having a hard time, getting going. And they haven't done anything. Look at this thing. Uh, $84 million, it's struggling. But I think they will turn it around. But bit of a spec bet, but I do have I'm optimistic. Luca's really ran hard. I really got lucky on Luca. I kind of bought the bottom. There's a few companies that, they got really cheap and they got so cheap I bought them. Luca's one of them. They just got, uber cheap. Um, I forget what I bought it, under 50 cents though. It's $1.18 now. I think maybe bought it less than 30 cents. Um, and now they're doing well and a lot of people like it, but I'm kind of lukewarm because I don't see a lot of growth now. It looks like it looks like it's a five bagger, but I don't know if it's a B plus. 328. They don't have large resources. They're going to have exploration success. So I'm not super excited about it, although I got in cheap. So, I'm going to get my five bagger, but I don't know if you bought it today. I don't know. People that buy it today, they might not. They might be disappointed if they don't have exploration success. But they might do some acquisitions. I mean, you never know who your winners are going to be. I mean, Luca could, they could go and buy another mine. I mean, a lot of these producers, So one thing I like about producers is they can buy other mines. They can grow through acquisitions, and Luca could do that. Mag shouldn't be on this list, so we can skip it because they got acquired by Pan American. By the way, if you own Mag, it's a 50-50 deal. You're going to get 50% shares and 50% cash. And that deal should close this month or next month, very close. I'm looking forward to it. So because I own MAG and I do own Pan American. Okay, New Gold. Okay, we're here down here at the bottom. I'm not sure how long this thing's gone. New Gold. Big fan of New Gold. Why isn't New Gold the top pick, Don? You're a big fan of this stock. Their costs are coming down over the next um, 3 years, which is amazing. I mean, there's not that many companies who can say their costs are actually going to drop. But let's go take a look at New Gold. I don't know why it's not a top pick. Some of these companies haven't been reset after I bumped it up to $5,000 gold as my target price. So they're mining 350 with $1,400 margins, and their costs are dropping. They're going to grow to 425. Oh, they're at 417, so that's why they're not a top pick. They probably maybe they're borderline three, trading at an eight multiple. So they're borderline. So they really should be a 2.5 instead of a three. So I can't bump them up to a top pick. But one thing about New Gold, I think they're going to do an acquisition. They lost Blackwater to Artemis, and I think, that gave them a bad taste in their mouth. I think they want this company, I don't think they want to grow back. So they have a market cap of almost 4 billion. They're emerging major, but I think they want, to get a seat at the table again. Um, they've turned things around. They're generating free cash flow. They're lowering their cost. Actually, they've done an amazing job. I mean, their ASIC right now is I think their ASIC is going to go down to possibly $1,000 over the next 2 years. It was amazing, 1,100. So they're generating a lot of cash. I think they're going to do an acquisition. I really do. Um, I'd like to see them maybe do a merger of equals with like Artemis or Skeena. Those three companies all doing well location wise. Um, it would be fascinating if they merged with Artemis, right? The company that they sold Blackwater to. And basically get Blackwater back. That would be awesome. Northern Star, 3.5. I'm expecting a five bagger from this company. Uh, it's they got a 30% sell off. The thing is I like about Northern Star is that they acquired the Hemi project, which was a big DeGray project. So it's a 10 million ounce. So Northern Star is a big company, 13 million market cap. I think they're on the Elite Eight. They are in the Elite Eight. But they have three big mines, three really big long life mines, two of them in Australia, one in Alaska. And now they're building a fourth, which is the Hemi project, was 10 million ounce project in Western Australia. So they have four massive mines. So it's a really strong company and it's cheap. I mean, it got sold off. I don't know why, but it did. And so this is our opportunity. Orezone. So this one, I think it's Burkina Faso. Yeah, the Burkina Faso. So they're not getting any value, very cheap. But I think, eventually, I think this thing will get, and it's growing production. I think eventually they will be a 10 bagger, maybe not. There's six, a market cap is 550. Maybe they don't get to a 10 bagger, but I think I have them on my top 25. I do like them. Even though they're Burkina Faso, I have them as a top 25. That's how much I like the company. I like the project. This thing has a lot of exploration potential. It's growing in size. As far as the West African projects go, this is a good one. I think it's, but you probably won't touch Burkina Faso because of the junta. Mali and Burkina Faso are kind of our two stay away countries, but I do like it. Orla Mining, big fan of this one. It's pricey. I got in cheap. I've owned this thing. I bought it the first time I looked at it when this company first was came into existence. And I was right about them. I mean, this thing's grown 3.4 billion, and the reason why is I really like the management team. This is a build or buy and build company. I like the buy and builds. The Sharks, they're gonna buy and build a few more. That's what these companies do. These Sharks, they're just gonna keep growing. So Pan Orla, Pan American, don't need to say much about them. That acquisition of Mag is puts them back in the silver game. Now they have 25, 27% silver revenue. It'll probably grow to 30 as silver outperforms gold. And then if they can get one of their big silver projects built or restarted, Escobal or Navidad, they could be a big winner. I think this stock's definitely heading, five bagger plus. I have it as a 3.5 as a likely five bagger. Pantero, this is another one it's either going to, Pantero or Catalyst is going to be the next Aussie 8, 1.1 billion. Um, I like Pantero better than Catalyst, so this is probably the one that's going to be the next Aussie 8. It probably should be at top 25. Let's go and see why. Why aren't you top pick? They have a decent balance sheet, 100 million. I really like these Aussie companies. They don't like debt. They're smart. 113 million in cash, no debt. They must have high cost. So we got $2,000 ASIC. That's the reason why it's not on the top 25. So we need to get the cost down, but I'm a fan of Pantero. I think it's a growing company. Definitely glad I own it. Perseus. Perseus is a shark. They're going to they're a buy and build company, strong management team, Western Australia. I rank them second below Endeavor. If you don't mind West Africa, Perseus, they just generate a lot of cash and they grow. We want to own these companies that do that. Ramelius, they just did an acquisition of Spartan and they paid for it. And they paid their market cap's 4.8 billion. Spartan was a pricey company, and they decided they're going to buy Spartan, and it really bit them as far as their upside goes. Now they got to find a way to grow. So they only, 2.5 Aussie 8 company, but they lost a lot of their upside. Uh, We'll see, but they're going to have to find a way to grow. I think they will, but right now it's not as juicy as some of these others. Regis, definitely juicy. 2 billion Aussie 8 company, solid five bagger, I think, solid free cash flow. Resolute, Resolute's a West African company. A lot of you will probably leave that one alone. I have it as a B minus 2.5 black. The reason why is because it's West Africa, so it has a lot of risk, but it definitely has a lot of leverage too, a lot of gold. Rio 2, the key to Rio 2 is going to be phase two of their growth. So they're building phase one right now down in Chile. I like the project, like the CEO. I think he's going to pull it off. But they need to see that it's a bit of a spec bet until they get that second phase built, which is going to expand their production. Phase one basically gets the thing off the ground. Phase two is where we make our money. SSR Mining, love this company. I mean, I just think they know what they're doing. It's like I am gold. They basically, another one of these buy and builds. Now they just bought another one. They bought the Cripple Creek mine from in Colorado from Newmont, and I think Copper is going to get restarted. I'm very confident there. If you can get SSR Mining as a five bagger, it's kind of ridiculously cheap because it's, really good company. And basically a growth story. New Gold, I am Gold, SSR Mining. These are companies that are all going to do acquisitions and grow. That's what we want to own. If you can get a company like that, I mean, it's kind of amazing. I mean, one of the reasons I did this video for you guys just to show you how cheap these companies still are. Once they double, all of these companies they're not going to be blues and greens anymore. They're all going to be two fives. And probably a year from now, I mean, all these companies, even these fours are probably going to be two fives. A lot of them are not going to be, but SSR Mining, there's no way. This is it. I mean, a lot of these companies, Perseus, a lot of the companies that are on this list, Regis, they're not going to be five back. They're not going to be on this list anymore. Okay, Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, I was a little little skeptical on Santa Cruz, but they've done a good job. Their balance sheet is cleaned up. The revenue in silver is higher than I thought it was going to be. It's about 50%. I'm impressed with that. Long life mine. Santa Cruz looks great. I mean, it's a stock that a lot of people really, really like. I kind of have to kind of agree with him. I'm doing well with it. I mean, I gambled on it when it was had a lot of debt and nobody wanted to own it, and now it seems to be doing really well. So I put Santa Cruz just right outside the Mormon list. Vino, Guanajuato, and Santa Cruz. Silver Storm, they're going to start producing here in Q4. We're getting San Diego for free. I mean, La Perilla, the one that they're putting into production is 2.5 million ounces. That's $1.5 billion just on La Perilla. 1 million, every million ounces is 500 million. 1.2 million billion dollars is La Perillas. We're getting San Diego for free, which has 90,000 ounces. And they're going to truck the ore from San Diego over to La Perilla. But I don't know how long it's going to take. But this stock could easily be a top 25 right now. I like Silver Storm a lot. Silver X, we need a plan from them. They need to tell us how they're going to expand production. They have the goods. They have 90 to 100 million ounces of silver, another 200 million ounces silver equivalent. It's about 50% PM revenue, 50% base metals, but this thing could easily be 4 million ounce a year production. They're currently mining less than one, but they haven't given us a plan. So we need a plan from SilverX. This is a bit of a spec bet. Silvercorp, they're doing great. I mean, they always do, generating a lot of free cash out of China. And now I don't like where they're diversifying. I mean, they're building two mines in Ecuador, and then they got another mine in Bolivia, which they own 28% of, the New Pacific. But I think Silver Corp, we have to worry a little bit about China, but on the whole, I think as a stock, I definitely want to own it, but I don't want to be too overweight because a little bit of nervousness. But once they do that deal, once they acquire New Pacific, I actually like to see them divest, sell their project in China, buy New Pacific and build New Pacific. I'd like them to see them do that. Step Gold. So Step Gold, they acquired a gold producer in Mongolia. Seems to be working out well. I haven't. They're very cheap. Everybody's kind of ignoring them, and Prince is a 10 bagger, and I have high hopes for Step. They seem to be executing well. Talisker, this is another one that people really like. Small producer trying to expand production, $82 million market cap. This is a company that could easily go to a billion. They have the goods. It's going to take a while. It's a lot like Lion One, but a little bit better. They just need to grow production, get free cash flow, and then grow. But on the whole, I like it better than Line One. And I told you, I think Line One could be a 10 million ounce deposit potentially. I do think Line One's at least five based on their drill results. It's a big property, a lot of veins. Talisker, they already have the goods. I think it's 2 million ounces already. So Thor just came out with a really good quarter. They're generating, they had an ASIC of $900, which is fantastic. They're generating a lot of cash. They're expanding into Cody. I think it's Cody. Let's go double check. But I like Thor. Uh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where's your second mine? How come I'm so blind? Currently in Nigeria, Senegal. I'm just so blind. So the second project is in Senegal. And so they're currently mining, so they have 3 million ounces, currently mining 90,000 ounces, and they're going to almost, take it to 150 through Senegal. And so they're currently trading at a two multiple and they're expanding production. So they go to 90 to 150, takes their free cash flow to 510 million at $5,000 gold. That gives them, it makes them print as 11 bagger, and they could do a little better than that. And it's a new company. It could grow even better, even more. Nigeria, yeah, makes me a little nervous. I can't. Nigeria definitely makes me nervous, but I'm okay with Senegal, which is where they're expanding to. So that diversification gives me, and plus, I think this is kind of a growth story. There's a lot of projects in Africa, so they could potentially find one to grow production. So I guess the key here for Thor is Nigeria. Are you okay with that one? Vault Minerals, they are Aussie 8, solid company. I have them as a top 25, 2 billion, generate a lot of cash. West African, by the way, Vault used to be called Red 5, and then they acquired Silver Lake and renamed their company. West African, um, good company, growth, solid five bagger. It's another one in West Africa that, a lot of people are probably going to ignore. Probably eventually, one company's going to have a problem and political problem. I'm probably going to sell all my African miners all at once um, when that day comes. But hopefully, by the time that comes, I'm doing well. But West African, they've done a good job of, you know, they're not quite an elite management team such as Perseus or Allied, but they're pretty darn close. They've executed well. They're definitely growing into that type of a company. West Red Lake Gold. I've owned this thing since they acquired the project. I liked this thing from the start. I liked the management team. I always thought that they were going to do a good job restarting this mine, and they've done an excellent job. I'm not surprised at all. I always said it's a 10 bagger. The Rowan project, we're getting that extra. I think this is a company that's going to grow into at least 150 ounce a year project, a company. They're currently about 70. I think they're going to double that, and it wouldn't surprise me they get grow to 200. I think the CEO wants to grow this company. They've had some really good drill holes this week, fantastic drill holes. Madsen, I've always liked the Madsen property, so I like that. West Gold, another Aussie 8, fantastic. I really like West Gold. They're like right behind Capricorn and Regis. Those would be kind of the three elite, but I consider West Gold kind of an elite Aussie 8. You see, I have them as an A. They acquired K Rora. They had a little bit of growing pains with K Rora, but now I think they got everything under control, generating cash, nice strong balance sheet. And then I-80. I-80 is black, not a top pick. Um, I-80, they got four projects to build. The only thing I'm worried about I-80 is that they get acquired. I'm just hoping whoever buys them, I own. I don't want a big major that I don't want to own to acquire them. They are just loaded with really good projects. So I like I-80 for the long term. It's kind of a long-term pick. It's kind of a 3 to 5 year hold. This is probably one stock I'm not gonna sell. Okay, guys, so that's it. That was a long one. Thanks for hanging in there.